What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Bullpen. Today, I got a real special guest for you guys. You probably know her as Buff Cookie, right, on Instagram.
Yes.
She might be also known as maybe like America's sweetheart, America's badass. You know, like she's like the queen of the gun world at this point, right? So if you guys don't know who she is, you're living under a rock, so you're about to find out. So Casey Currey, also known as Buff Cookie, as I said, is a former fitness competitor that now uses her platform to market top brands and companies, which you've had a lot of big brands that you've been working with recently. We're going to touch on some of that. Yeah, awesome. That's going to be cool. Together with her husband, they own and operate 5 businesses, especially most people know the Ready Gunner, legendary location. I fucking love that place. And are lovingly raising 6 beautiful kids. It's a lot of kids.
A lot of moving parts.
Welcome to Utah, right?
Exactly.
And in her spare time, she loves exploring her home state of Utah. No question, because every weekend you guys are out doing something.
We are.
Crazy.
We love the outdoors. It's so great.
So you built a massive brand, right? Yeah. You built a massive brand. A lot of people know who you are, right? And you've had a ton of success in business. People don't know about the future businesses that you guys are opening up. I mean, you've kind of posted about it a little bit, right? But in order to get to that point, as you know on these podcasts, I want to know, how the hell did you get to that point, right? Like what led you up here? Because not many women want to go down that route. Right? Especially having to take on raising kids. You know, we're talking about the fur babies, the dogs, and all these animals, right? There's a lot of responsibilities here, right?
Yeah.
So what's your story? What got you here to this point?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of parts. So I met Neil about 7, almost 8 years ago.
Okay.
We were both working for another company. We were doing real estate investments. So we both had a lot of success in the workplace.
Can I ask you something about that real quick? I want to interrupt. Were you in the gun industry at that same time?
No, I was not.
Okay.
So Neil had started Ready Gunner as just a small business, started it out of his basement actually, and just moved to like a by appointment only warehouse, and then kind of grew it from there. But he was still, it was very part-time. It was like one employee, a small warehouse that was like 2,000 square feet, nothing crazy. And after we got talking, it was like, you really need to focus on Ready Gunner. Like, you need to build this. And this was back in 2014. And I had told him, I'm like, you need to start an Instagram. Like, I know this is the way the world's going. Like, you should start one.
Yeah.
So he did. And he's brilliant, but he just took it and ran with it and built this beautiful platform that nobody had seen in the gun world.
Right. Oh, especially in the gun world.
Right.
Gun world is very old school. And you guys have taken a very revolutionary method with it that I think everyone's trying to copy now.
And so that was kind of the goal. So we did that, and we had some great success right off the bat, which enabled us to go into a bigger location.
Right.
So then we both quit our jobs. Did Ready Gunner full force. I ended up getting pregnant. So we were putting in like 90 hours a week, trying to build this business, getting it going. And it was so much fun, but a lot of work at the same time. But we really wanted to focus on great customer service and creating a different environment, something or a place where everyone was welcome, mumen, families, that it's not like your typical gun store where it feels like a pawn shop. If it's like very degrading when you come in.
Yeah. Okay.
Too macho. That's what we want to stay away
The degrading
from.
piece is actually fascinating to me because I love Ready Gunner. I don't know. I think I've told you guys this. I actually love hanging out in Ready Gunner.
Oh, good. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. No, you guys set up the couches in there. Like, it's just a cool vibe, right? And I used to actually like work with my dad in a location nearby. And I would just go hang out for lunch at Ready Gunner, right? But in most gun stores, it is kind of degrading in the way of like, if you're new to guns, and most people are new to guns,
so new,
it's a different language, right? It's almost like you don't want to say stuff, right? Because then they're gonna be like, all right, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about, or this girl
hate
with
that.
And you guys have taken a massive approach on that. Tell me about that.
That was our number one goal, is doing something different, because it's scary to go into a gun store and be like, especially as a woman. Most women aren't familiar with guns. So they go in and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm embarrassed. I'm scared. You have this macho atmosphere. So we try to take that away. We try to make it easier and comfortable for people to come in, get what they need, get the training that they need. So we kind of cover all aspects. We have a shooting range, so that helps a lot. But it's fun to see people come in that have no knowledge, and suddenly they walk out with this newfound confidence that they didn't have before. So that's been like a really fun experience. So did that, have been growing Ready Gunner like crazy, which has been great. Started a marketing company. So now we market for top brands in the industry on about a dozen different platforms. So we do that. We own a storage company now. We're building coffee shops. So we're kind of all over the place. So now it's just a matter of like, keep rolling. And that's the goal, is just keep moving forward. And the minute you get stagnant is when you start to go backwards.
Well, let's back up, because there's obviously a massive drive that comes in because you guys are having success in the real estate business, but then to take a business and want to scale it. Okay. Anyone, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who listen to this. They understand what it takes to scale.
Right.
What it takes to scale is a lot of courage.
So much.
It's scary.
It
right?
scares the heck out of me.
Opening up a bigger location. People don't understand.
Right.
Do you have any idea how much it costs just to pay rent in a location like that, right? So to go from a small location to a big location on its own, you're like, this means we're going to have to up our sales. We're going to have to stock an even bigger location.
Right.
Hopefully people actually show up to the level we hope they will. We're going to have to spend even more on marketing to get to that level.
Exactly.
You know, so there's all these things that people don't really think about, right? That you guys went through, right?
Right.
You went through it, obviously raising these kids, you know, being pregnant.
Yeah.
So take me through that moment when you decided to scale, because that's one of the most fascinating things about entrepreneurs.
We realized we had just outgrown that location and that Ready Gunner could be so much more.
Right.
So when we found a spot that went from 2,500 square feet to 25,000 square feet, it was a big jump.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that helped us is me and Neil have gotten really good at pivoting.
Yeah.
Because you learn that like you're going to hit a roadblock.
Yeah.
Pivot, move, come up with a different solution. And if you get stuck in your ways and unwilling to change, that's when it gets really hard.
Right.
So for us, we just learned like, okay, we'll pivot, we'll move this way, we'll try this. And then it was just a learning curve, like just going for it, but taking the, taking the guts to do it.
Well, where did your drive come from? Because let's be honest here. You like when it's a husband and wife going about building a business. Yeah. People do not understand just how much pain that takes on you two as a couple, right?
Right.
For you to get where you're at, there's obviously had to be a drive somewhere inside of you that was pushing you to the next level. You were talking to Neil about, going bigger. Where did that drive come from?
I think that's kind of just always been my personality.
Okay.
Like I love the challenge. And I think if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So for me, it's like, I love the grind. I love to work hard. I love to build new things in the challenge. And even though like it is stressful and sometimes it wants like, I let it break me temporarily. It's like, okay, bring it back together and keep going. But for me, I just love that. I needed that. I'm not one of those women that likes that wants to be the stay at home, even though I think that's great. And it is for some.
It is, yeah.
For me, I'm like, I want to work and I want to build this with you and I want to be a part of every aspect of it. So that's just kind of my personality. And
well, how have you balanced that then? Because that's probably one of the hardest balances ever, especially not letting, because this is what people say, don't do business, family, friends. Why?
Right.
Because then as a marriage, especially in a marriage, you're sitting down having a conversation at night and it consumes you, right? It can at least, right?
Totally.
You sit down at dinner, you're talking about business, right? You're getting texts about business. You're getting texts, you're getting calls, whatever it is. And that's what, that can actually drive a lot of marriages apart. It can bring them closer together. One of the biggest questions anyone asks themselves, especially in family business, like how do you balance that, right? So how have you guys done that?
Yeah, sometimes you're not always as great at it. Like there's times where I have to like step back and be like, okay, we need to compartmentalize our life a little bit. Like let's put work away. One thing most people don't realize is owning your own business is great and it gives you a lot of opportunity and flexibility, but at the same time, like sometimes it would be nice to have a 9-to-5 where you're like, I could just check out. Like that would be cool. What's that like?
Do you really think you built for a 9-to-5?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I was about to say I don't think you have.
I've done it, and it's way better. But
entrepreneurs tend to be,
but you don't turn it off.
Right.
Like it has to be a mental thing where you're like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Let's put it away for a minute.
Right.
Neil's gotten to where like he's turned his phone off at 6 p.m. Like no more calls or texts come through, and we just kind of turn it off, focus on the kids. But that's why we also like really prioritize getting out, going outside with the kids. We also include our kids in a lot of what we do. Like our kids know how to work at the shop. They come, like kids work throughout the summer. Our girls know how to make coffee at the coffee shop. So including them has been super beneficial, I think, for us as a family because we get to do something together. And it's a learning experience for the kids. They love it.
Yeah. Well, we all know Neil doesn't do anything. He's just
he's
you
the
run
pretty face.
He's the pretty face. Yeah, that's right. Neil, we know it's not you. No, just kidding. Okay, so as a woman in mostly male dominated, let's just be honest, the gun industry is definitely not, a woman's world, right? In regards, or hasn't been.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing a massive movement, though, that a lot of women are seeing the light and coming in to say, guns are our freedom. Guns are for men and women, right? Which is so badass. And you're definitely one of the people leading the charge on that, right?
Yeah. We hope to be. That's the goal.
Well, what has that been like for you, right? Coming into the gun industry as a woman, right? Like promoting, The Second Amendment, I'm sure that comes with a lot of hate too, right?
So much.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, we get limited a lot, but it's great to see the change. So in 2020, there were more women who got their concealed carry permit than men. And it was the biggest year for concealed carry permits. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And the amount of women that bought guns that year as well, it was outstanding. So it's slowly becoming a more common thing for women. And it's fun to see women come in and realize like, oh, this is like the ultimate equalizer.
Yes.
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So it also gives these women a new sense of confidence, which they don't usually have. So it's been fun to be a part of that movement and show women like, hey, you can still like dress how you want to dress. Right. You can pack a gun. You can be a mom and do all these things because ultimately like you're responsible for your own safety and the safety of your family. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that, especially in the last coming years or the last few years, that it's on us.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, there's no question that there's a massive failure in this country and honestly in the world of men who lack, honestly, there's a massive failure of men, right?
Yeah.
Men who will not accept responsibility, men who will not stand up, men who are not willing to be strong and to be protectors, right?
Right.
Which, shame on those fuckers, right? Like seriously, like that's a massive problem that needs to be addressed. But at the same time, it leaves the women to stand up, right?
Yeah.
It leaves the women to be the one you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to, be the one who actually is the protector, right? And when it comes to guns, in all reality, when the Second Amendment is in play, like when you look at the purpose of the Second Amendment, it's probably just as important, if not more important for women to have guns. Cause you talk about the great equalizer, right?
Oh yeah.
We're talking about mama bear, like want to protect your family, protect your kids. It is just as, if not more important for the women to be armed and ready to protect what's theirs than men, right? Because
I think if you look at it, most of the time your children are with mom.
Exactly. Right?
Like half of my day, I don't see Neil. He's not with me.
Right.
So it is up to me. Like I can't depend on him all the time. If he's there, I don't have to worry about a thing. But it is our responsibility as women and moms to protect ourselves. And that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
So
you grew up here in Utah, right?
Yeah, I did.
So let me ask you, are you LDS?
I grew up LDS. Okay. Not currently, but yes, I grew up LDS.
I can say the same thing, right?
Yeah, right?
So I was talking to somebody that because I think we obviously we're on the same page there with I grew up LDS, right? I served a mission, and I was actually talking to Brad Lee about it, and he goes, "Are you Mormon?" I go, "I was raised Mormon." He goes, "Why does everyone who's born say raised Mormon, right?"
Right.
But you grew up here in Utah, right? Obviously, let's say it, right? You're not active in the church, right? Neither am I, right? How has that been for you? And I want to open up that can of worms because I'm curious, you're in a coffee shop, you're growing up in Utah, being raised LDS. I want to pick your brain about that.
Utah's a weird community.
It is very.
And I think we always say that we were raised LDS because it was a huge part of our lives for a long time, right? And
it changed my life.
I attribute a lot of who I am to that. It helped me a lot as a kid. It gave me direction. Right. And I loved it as a child, but as I grew older, you start questioning things and asking questions. And the one thing that I didn't like is I was kind of always told not to ask questions. And that for me, it doesn't sit well. Right. I love to ask questions. Sometimes Neil hates it because I'm always like, well, what about this and this and this and that? But I was always told not to, and I hated that. Yeah. So there were things that didn't sit well with me. Obviously, when you start diving into real things like coffee,
right?
Coffee's bad, but energy drinks are totally fine. Right. Stuff like that just doesn't sit well. So I think it gives a great foundation, and it's a good base for people. People need things to believe in, and God is a great place to start, right? But I learned for myself that my spirituality, I didn't need a third party to help me reach God. Yeah. That one-on-one communication myself was better than anything that I could get through the church. Yeah. So kind of just pulled myself away, and I love Utah. I love most of the members of the church are phenomenal. Absolutely. They do so much good.
Absolutely.
But it just wasn't for me or my family. Right. And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, so obviously I served a mission, right? And the reason why I want to pick your brain about it is because, being raised here in Utah as you were, right? And having such a massive brand, I'm sure a lot of people are curious, right? And
for sure.
People ask me all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I was born and raised here. They talk to me about it, so I'm assuming you're getting similar DMs,
right? I'm sure, yeah. What happened to Casey? She drinks coffee and...
Exactly. It's like such a disappointment, right?
So, yeah, it happens. And I think you just have to know that they may not understand fully, and that's okay. I've learned that in my life as well, that you're not going to please everybody, so you got to do what makes you happy, and whichever way that is, run with it.
Well, for me, I mean, one of the biggest things, obviously, serving a mission, like one of the things I saw over and over again was actually from the Word of Wisdom, right? And one of the things that, I think I actually was talking to Neil about this, but is it's okay to be 400 plus pounds.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fine,
right.
but you can't have coffee, right?
Right.
And then on my mission, I would see people who were denied, wouldn't get baptized or whatever, become part of church because they drank tea. And in Texas, right, tea's a big thing, right?
Oh, yeah. And tea has so many health benefits. Yeah. Like, oh my goodness.
Right. And so when it comes to tea, it's like, okay, and so like there's these disbalances there. But then also in certain places, like when it comes to weed, right? If you're in Colorado and you smoke weed, well, now it's legal in Colorado. So you can still have a temple recommend in Colorado if you smoke weed because it's legal. But if you're in Utah, you can't, right?
Yeah.
And so, and like, here's another thing with my tattoo. This was honestly one of the scariest things I ever done, right?
Yeah. Because you're wearing that on your sleeve.
Oh, yeah, literally.
So everybody sees it.
But what's funny is in the temple recommend questions, when people, when they ask you the questions of if you're worthy to go to temple, this is not in there. So actually what's funny is we actually think like this is the black mark of like, oh, you're not active, right? Which, okay, I get where people are saying, Gordon B. Hinckley said don't do it. But at the same time, the culture of basically what I'll get to is the culture of the church has developed into such a rule-based system that it's gone so far away from following Christ and what that's about, because that is what changed my life, right?
For sure.
And
that
like
relationship with God.
Yes, right.
That's what it's about.
And so the reason why I ask you that is because you're raised in Utah, so I'm assuming you've received some form of hate in some way with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think you have to understand too that it's raised by imperfect men. The church is ran. Right. That's the word I'm looking for. Ran by imperfect men. Always so it is going to be imperfect. Yeah, like you're not going to get perfect out of them. Yeah. But they also are playing to like your lowest common denominator. Yeah. Right. So the person that can't do things in moderation. Right. So we're going to just set a base rule that everybody can follow and keep everybody in line.
But if we're talking about the just true health laws, being 400 plus pounds is a lot more dangerous drinking coffee.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's get it right down to it, right? If we're taking power of the body that God gave us, I think, like, why isn't that in there? Because we don't want to offend people. Right.
Yeah. And I think I think they've realized now that like the coffee thing, like that makes no sense anymore. Yeah. But they've stuck with it so long. I don't know that they can ever go back on that. So it's kind of funny. But that's one of the reasons that I kind of just have started doing my own thing, and it works great for me and my family. And obviously living here in Utah, that is the prominent culture. Yeah. However, it is changing drastically. It is. And so it's kind of great to see a more dynamic state. But for the most part, I've gotten really good at like tuning people out. Like I know my unit, I know my group, and this is all that I care about. Anybody else can either jump on board and have fun, or you can go do your own thing. And I'll be happy. Yeah. So,
Well, I don't know if you knew this. So Rolling Stone's is actually doing a documentary about Utah.
Oh, are they?
And they're doing it about Utah with how apparently this is what the interview's about, or like the documentary's about, is that there's more psychedelic drug movement and also weed, like weed sold in the black market. I don't know how people calculate this stuff, by the way, but apparently that's what they're doing documentary on, is there's more weed consumption in Utah than in most other states, even though it's illegal. Same with psychedelic drugs. And so so they're doing this documentary about why that is here in Utah, why this, and it's like Tim Ferriss is putting this on or whatever, about studying why in Utah there's such a massive movement towards weed and psychedelic drugs, but it's just still like under wraps, hush hush. Right. It's everywhere. So there is a massive change.
It's still illegal, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, will be probably for a while.
Yeah, I think the more research that comes out and finds that like natural health-based items, like they come from the earth. Yeah. So, I mean, it's
crazy.
It's wild. Yeah. But I totally believe it.
Yeah. Now, let me pivot to a question I've actually always wanted to ask, you. Yeah. It's in the gun industry. There's a lot of weirdos, right? Okay. That's exactly what I want to get to. Yes. Because
you get them in every industry.
Every industry.
And no one's exempt from it.
That's exactly the point that I wanted to make, is like, when we talk, Republicans versus Democrats or all that, we're very divided politically right now in America, right? And I think people want to draw this line of like, okay, if you're conservative, if you believe in guns, you're good, and if you don't, you're bad, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to hear from you is, because I'm like, well, hang on a sec. There's a lot of weird motherfuckers.
Yeah. What about this area? Can you just hang out in this area here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you guys experienced a lot of that? You're in the gun industry, so what kind of, I don't know, like weird stuff, or like what have you seen from both sides, but specifically the right side of like the gun community? How
have these wannabe operators that just go way hard in the paint, right?
Right.
And they're the ones that are in full kits and rifles at protests and things like that, where they're maybe basically not necessary. They're LARPers.
They're LARPing.
And that's fine. Like if that makes you happy, do it. Right. But they also convert into your hardcore internet trolls, which are equally as bad as the people on the left.
Yes, thank you.
Which is rough. So we actually have a good friend. His name is Jared Clausen. He owns a company called Tier 1 Concealment. It's a holster company here in Utah. I love
those, yeah.
Do you know who Jared?
I don't know him, but I love the Tier 1.
So if you follow, he is the most amazing shooter ever. Like shoots coffee drops out of the air. Like shoots flames off candles. Like I've never seen anybody shoot like him.
Wow.
And he gets people critiquing him on how he shoots. Like his last video, I think somebody was like mocking him for how he's slapping the trigger. And I'm like, that guy can outshoot you all day long and you're still talking shit.
Yeah.
So I think you get it everywhere.
Oh, there's the keyboard warriors on that side are just as bad.
Awful.
It's just as bad. And I feel, because like you guys are deep in the gun industry, I have a feeling you guys get it a lot.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. And if we don't make comments on certain topics or push certain things, that's like, gosh, you're not supportive.
Did you say if you don't comment?
Oh yeah. There's certain things like
what?
Just different hot topics.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like the Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh,
people like to jump on that one. That's a very hot topic for a lot of people.
Right, of course.
And if you are not like fully on board on this side, you are a liberal asshole who doesn't support Second Amendment rights.
You're telling me people are mad at you because you guys didn't comment?
Yeah. You'll have people
fascinating.
And that's just one example, but just different things. It's like, oh, well, if you don't have a say on this and you're not,
or if you're not standing up
and defending, then you.
I can see that.
Yeah, that totally happens.
What in the world?
That's just the first one that popped to my head.
Right.
But yeah, it happens.
Well, yeah. Oh, they're getting mad at you for not commenting.
Yeah, it's like you're not going hard enough. Yeah. So let's ramp this up, because if you support 2A, you better.
Right.
Yeah.
And you support 2A. Okay. Just make sure, all you guys who don't
think of my livelihood.
Just in case you don't know, why don't you go visit their gun shop, okay? So what's the future for you guys then? Because you guys, here's actually what I really want everyone to know is you guys are making massive moves with your businesses.
Trying.
You're doing some good stuff, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
So what's the next move for you guys? Obviously, I don't know if I can bring it up about Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Nope, that's coming. So we are opening a freestand coffee shop with drive-through here in Spanish Fork. It'll be open in about 4 to 5 weeks. So it's for all just right around the corner.
Yeah, for all you right wings who hate Starbucks, they finally got this one now.
Yeah, and the coffee's way better.
It is.
So we're super excited about that. Yeah. Hopefully just opening more locations here in Utah with them. So that'll be a fun upcoming project that we've got working.
And then for Ready Gunner, there's some big expansion stuff in the works for that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Can you fill us in on the details?
Details are a little under wraps.
Okay.
Just kidding. But store 2 is coming.
Woo!
And it scares me a little bit. That growth, it's that next step is store number 2. I'm glad it'll still be in Utah, so that makes my heart rest a little easier.
Can we say where?
I don't know if they want me to say where.
Okay, we won't say where yet.
We'll keep that a surprise.
Okay, we won't say where, but it'll be open
coming.
up. Okay,
it's coming.
All right. Yeah,
hopefully within the next year.
That's exciting.
So,
cool.
It's really exciting.
Well, Casey, so what's one message that you have that you want to get out there for, like, whether it's women, for men, or what if you were to talk about like the legacy you want to leave or the message you want, what would that be?
That's a hard question.
I know.
That was good.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one I started my marketing and influence in the fitness industry. And it's kind of evolved over the years as I had kids, got into the gun industry. I've kind of done a little bit of everything.
Right.
And
you're still in the fitness industry and stuff. Yeah,
right. I am. And people always ask, they're like, where did Buff Cookie come from? So to touch on that, my maiden name was Cook. So my nickname has always been Cookie, and then Buff just came from doing fitness stuff.
Naturally,
so everybody's like, where did that come from? So, you know.
Okay.
But anyways, as it's evolved, my biggest thing has just been empowering women in every aspect of their life, whether it's safety and guns, whether it's the confidence to just live their life how they want to. I feel like as women, we get told so much what we should and shouldn't be that we get lost, that we lose ourselves, that, you know, we're told to have children and raise a family, but then we're also told to forget who we were and just become moms. And so that's been kind of my main thing is I want to be an example for women that you can be who you want to be, regardless of the judgments, because they're going to come regardless.
Which we just talked about. You've had plenty of that.
No matter what you do. Like, you can be on this side and they're going to hate you, and they're going to hate you if you're on this side. So you're never going to escape that. So that's been my main goal and focus, is just being an example for women, that they can be anything that they want to be, regardless of who you are, regardless of if you're a mom, where you live, just finding yourself. That's huge.
Which that is massive, because a lot of women feel like they lose themselves in just being a mom. Or just staying at home, right? And I've talked to a lot of women, and my wife is actually very much like this, right? Like she's very involved with our businesses. She helps me run all this shit, right? That. Because she refuses to just stay home. Yeah. Which I love, right?
It would be so hard. I don't know how. I couldn't do it.
And I'm sure for some people they love that, right?
Works, but
for the women who don't want to, what's the key to them like balancing life? Because all right, let's break this down. You've got 6 kids, you're running 5 businesses, right?
Yeah.
And you still managed to, you know, and with all that, you think there'd be an excuse like, oh, I don't have time to work out, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't have time to actually have fun in life, you know? Right. Which I think if someone were to come to me and say, you don't understand, I have 6 kids and I run 5 businesses, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right, it's tough. But how do you balance all that? How do women stand up to balance that in their lives and still find their passions and still raise their kids, right? With love and not, you know, neglect them, right? Or still, you know, manage stuff in business, still, you know, manage to get to the gym or stay in shape or whatever it is. Yeah. How do you find that balance? How do they do that?
So I have really just making plans and prioritizing things in my life. Obviously, my number one is my family. So they come first, right? So I am making sure every day that I am spending time with my kids, whether that's 15 minutes and we're having a dance party in the living room, like that 15 minutes of just pure attention to them means more than an hour or a few hours of us sitting and watching a movie together, not talking. Right. So prioritizing and planning out my week is about the only way I get stuff done.
So handing them an iPad doesn't count.
Doesn't count. Okay. No, it doesn't count. And that's sometimes we're so busy, we have so much going. It's like, Remy, get in the car. We're going to the coffee shop. Let's go work because we got stuff to do. Yeah. And even that, you can balance it. It can be done. It's just a matter of making time for each little thing. So, and that's all I try to do every week is just, okay, what do we need to get done this week? Making time for myself as well, prioritizing hey, I got to wake up a little earlier to get my workouts in, but I need that me time because if my cup's not full, I can't fill up anybody else's. True. So. Amen.
I mean, that's true. That's in order to be the best mom, you know, or to be the best father, you have to be the best you.
Oh yeah.
Or even if you be the best spouse. You gotta
focus on yourself.
I think that's a massive thing that's being talked about more and more. And I'm so glad because there's nothing more true that, you know, when it comes I think the message used to be 50-50, right? 50-50 in a marriage or whatever it is, right? But in all reality, if you are 100% all in on making your life happy, guess what? And then you expect your spouse to do the same, then you get to share that happiness with each other, right? Same with kids, right? So you're not going to be able to show up as a mom or as a spouse if you're not happy.
Totally.
That's the truth. So I love that because if you're not doing everything you can to make yourself feel fulfilled, then how are you going to spread that to your kids?
You won't. Yeah.
You can say all the shit lost. You want, but they absorb it way more than just your words.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yeah. So the best little piece of advice I got from she was 4 at the time. I sat down with her one day and I was like, Remy, what could I do to be a better mom? And she turns to me, she's like, Mom, just be yourself. And I'm like, wow, that hit home. Be yourself. Yeah. Just be you. They want real, authentic. They want your breakdowns. They want to see your successes and they want to be a part of all that. They're just sponges. So I thought that was really cool to take in. Yeah.
Was Remy named after Remington?
Oh, you know what? Everybody asks that. No, they're actually, just Remy. Okay. Definitely not one of our top gun brands, but
right.
But everybody thinks
that. I was about to say because like your son's not named Glock or
no, we don't have a Glock or a Colt or
no. Well, Casey, so if there's one message you want to leave with our audience, a lot of people, young entrepreneurs, right? 5 businesses and growing, right? And I know it's scary, right? You know, there's a lot of women who watch this podcast, whatever. If there's one message you want to leave us with, what would it be?
Oh, just keep grinding. Like that's the hardest thing is just motivation is garbage, right? Like you can sit and say like, I'm motivated, but there are days when you are not going to be freaking motivated and it's going to be up to you to just get up and freaking go. And those are the days that I think build character and make you a successful person.
Why is motivation garbage though? I want to ask you a little bit deeper.
You like that?
I do like that. Yeah.
Because I see these motivational, like people posting motivational quotes and this and that, which is great.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
But it's what you do with that.
Yeah.
Action over words 100% of the time. So while motivation is great, 1, it's not always going to be there. And 2, it's not going to get the job done. It can be that underlying force, but it's not ultimately going to get the job done. It's your work. It's grinding.
Spoken like a true badass.
Love I don't know about that. Just trying to keep up. But
awesome. Well, we spit some fire on this podcast. Thanks for taking the time to come on. If we want to have everyone go follow you or get in touch with you if they have questions, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
I'm on Instagram.
Right.
So buff_cookie.
Buff Cookie.
Ready Gunner.
Naturally. Yes.
And then come visit us at the coffee shop here soon.
Yeah, so coffee shop here in Spanish Fork. Yeah. Everyone go buy some guns at Ready Gunner because I'm going to buy some more here soon.
Yeah, I think every week. The world's going to shit.
Awesome. Everyone go follow Buff Cookie. If you have any questions, reach out to her. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.